you've seen the outside, now that you've seen the inside, let's dig into the technology. The technologies that are critical for this house to be successful and to do the things that we would want any house to do is that we have geothermal, and that's ground source heat pump technology. We have hybrid electric heaters, and the hybrid electric heaters take the heat from inside the house and put in your hot water. You have a tankless hot water heating system, and that allows for backup or redundant heating so you never run out, but you're not paying the cost, or you're saving the money from the hybrid electric heaters. We can put radiant flooring in your house. This house has radiant flooring, but I'm heating the radiant flooring with an electric hybrid heater. And what's very nice about that is it keeps the house at 74 degrees when it's 28 degrees outside. We have ERVs, which is energy recovery ventilation. If you make a very tight house, you want to know that you're bringing in outside air to refresh the stale air from cooking, from showers, from cleaning, or for whatever other activities you are there. But that air has recovered the energy that's already in the house. So you're bringing the stale air out and bringing fresh air in a measured amount. The last thing we could talk about is the radiant barrier. You have a radiant barrier that actually keeps whatever's in the house, and whatever's out keeps it out. That's another technology it's simple, it's easy to use, and very useful. Another component that goes with the energy recovery ventilation is that we put an electrostatic air purifier on that takes out all the microparticles, all the pollen, and combines the very small dust particles that can be health hazards into bigger particles that you can actually filter out. Another thing that people should be able to tell you if they're going to say, I'm building an energy efficient house, how do you know? Well, it would be common sense that if I can keep the whole house one temperature, meaning that I can move these all through the house, and if I have my thermostat set at 77 and I put this in any room or any location and it says 77, I've done my job. What I'm going to be showing you now is that we're going to go to an unconditioned space. So for example, if I shoot, this is 77, if I shoot this wall, this is an infrared gun, so I'm not sure if you can read it on the camera, but it says 77. So it's basically synced or calibrated that they're both saying the same. So if I put this in this unconditioned space, and I guess I'll climb in here. So this is where we're putting the energy recovery unit. But the fact that the issue here is that this is unconditioned space, meaning I don't have any air distribution in here. Here's the roof outside. And I would say that anybody who lives in the South, in South Carolina, or any hot climate where the sun is out, where it is right now, is that this space is very hot. Now, I have two things here. I have a thermometer, so I'm going to shoot the temperature of this, and I'm going to say that it's reading 77. I mean, let me see what it's reading. It's reading 82. So the temperature of this is 82. When I was reading it in the house over there, it was 77. But if I take this thermometer, which is a probe, and stick it through the insulation until I get to the sheeting, okay, what will happen is that the probe will tell you that the heat on the back side of the sheeting, which would be right underneath the shingles, is going to be hotter than because of the sun load on the outside. But what this is doing here is I'm enveloping the house. So I'm keeping the heat from the solar gain from entering inside my structure. So if we can read this, if it's on there long enough, is that this is 95. In most houses of the South, your return air, meaning the air that goes back to be conditioned and air conditioned, is about one of these. How we designed this house, which is unusual, is that all the return from the whole house comes back to this center plenum. So this whole room is the air return plenum. If you would notice, I have 3 panels on this. Okay, so our mechanical room is here. Another thing we might add when we go with geothermal, all the equipment is inside. And if you think about it, all our ductwork is in conditioned space because it's only 80 degrees where all our ductwork is. So instead of being in a typical house in South Carolina, we'll have, it's 90 degrees outside today, and we can go to another house and put one of these in there, and your temperature range will go from 120 to 77. So first thing in the morning, it'll be outside ambient because you lost all your temperature. By the time you get to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, when you've had all the solar heat gain, you could easily be 120 degrees in there. I don't think anybody who's lived in the South or goes up in their attic would dispute that. But anyways, we'll go into the air distribution. This is the center plenum. We set the equipment with a piece of a diagnostic tool that allows us to adjust the air. Again, this whole room is a clean room. If you notice, this is called radiant barrier. If you put your hand on here, what it does is that it makes this room airtight, so no air can go this way or this way. It keeps it so the energy, whatever energy is on this side of the radiant barrier stays on this side, and whatever energy is on the back stays on the back side. So whatever's on the back side of this wall doesn't affect the load of the house. Every bit of conditioned space in this house has radiant barrier behind it. So it's behind the drywall, it's behind all the exterior walls, it's behind the ceiling upstairs, between the upstairs and downstairs where it's not common space. I don't need to put radiant barrier underneath because this is both conditioned, so you'd want to have heat transfer. It allows the house to dry out if I'm allowing to transfer. The whole HVAC system is here, so we don't have an outside air handler evaporative coil that in this climate can go bad. So this system, the compressor, fan unit, everything is here. If you look at the ductwork, then we insulate the ductwork, but it's all adjustable with these pins from here, so you can use a dampener. So if I want to change the filter, I can change it right here. This also has a air purification system, which is a hydrostatic air purification system that just uses a charge to pull out all the contaminants from the air. So the air purity in the house is that we have cleaner, less dust in this house than you would have without this thing, and it's relatively cost effective. If you look at here's another one of our AccuTemperatures. It's saying that we're 77. Isn't it interesting? We're in the air plenum upstairs where all the hot air is returning. And it's 77 in here, as same as the thermostat is downstairs, which you'd expect. The air conditioner system's not on. And I would say that anybody who lives in the South, right now it's July 17th, 18th, what's the date?
20th.
Today is July 20th. So on July 20th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, if I look at my clock, then everyone's air conditioner is on. This has not cycled on yet. The air distribution is moving the air around, but because we have well insulated and enveloped the house, the air conditioner compressor is not on, so I'm not distributing any heat from outside because I'm not taking in the heat from the outside to have to get rid of. But right here is telling you everything you need to know. Another thing is if we go, here is a desuperheater. So whenever the compressor comes on, right here, it takes the heat from the house. The compressor just came on. Not surprising though, it's sunny outside and it's hot out. So why wouldn't it come on? We're coming in and out of the house. But what happens is that when this compressor comes on, because it's a heat pump technology is energy transfer, is I'm transferring the energy of the house to the water heater. And so through these two pipes, and you can feel this is warmer, this is cooler, so this is coming from the water heater. I'm picking up the house that's coming through the compressor that typically would be distributed outside in your house or back into the loop system, because we basically want to take the heat from the house and bring it outside. What we're doing here, which seems to make common sense, we're taking the heat from the outside and putting it into the hot water tank, and when we use the hot water, then we get double benefits. So instead of dumping the heat that we have to get rid of, or using fossil fuels to heat your hot water, we're taking the heat from your house and you get to take a shower with it. Another thing I might add is that I'll come through here, but this is another place where it's unconditioned space. And if we come in here,
and I put the temperature probe. I mean, this is still, see, this is reading 81 as I'm going through here. This is sensitive in here, but if I take this reading in here, this also says 81. The fact is, it doesn't really matter. What's more important is not 100. So this has insulation between there's no air distribution system in here. Here's the roof structure. If you can barely see it, I don't have a light on in here, but this is all inside attic. So if you go to your inside attic, then typically this is very hot on a July day in the afternoon. We have radiant barrier in here, but the temperature of the attic is 82. But if I put the temperature probe in this one and leave it there long enough, then my temperature probe at the back side of the insulation, it will be 101, 102 degrees, which is what you'd expect it to be, because if you just go into your attic right now, it's 100 degrees in there or better. And it will stay at 100 degrees well after the sun goes down, because it actually heated up all the wood, all the thermal mass. Your shingles are still hot. They're probably, the temperature of the shingles outside are probably 120, 130 degrees. And we're keeping that heat outside the house, and we're also keeping the humidity outside the house. So we're not superheating or putting a lot of humidity inside your structure. Okay, the last thing again, if I have an efficient air conditioning system, and I tell you it's more efficient than another house, or that it is efficient, how will I know? Well, how I know here is I put a sub-meter on this air conditioning system, and so I date it, and then if I take readings on it, or if anybody takes a reading on it, I've used this much kilowatt hours since November 30th. Today is July 20th. And I'm saying that I can guarantee this house not to use more than 720 kilowatt hours. So I'm not saying how much money it is, but I'm saying it won't take more than 720 kilowatt hours. And if I use 10 cents a kilowatt hours, that's $720. If I divide it by 12, it's saying it's going to average $60 a month. But I've already gone almost 8 months. I'm in my high temperature, high expense season, and I am just going to the halfway point. And I'll have averaged less than $60 a month for heating a 3,000 square foot house in South Carolina at latitude of 33 degrees. Okay, our last room here mechanically, we just saw the ERV, the energy recovery unit. We just saw the air compressor and the air conditioning unit that's in this room. The last room here is where the water heater is. Now, one thing we didn't point out in the other one is that we put in a commercial metal or commercial roofing system in here, so if the water heater leaks, it doesn't do any damage downstairs. But one of the advantages for putting the water heater central is that it gets to all the faucets much quicker, because it goes, instead of being in the garage and having to go to your master bathroom, which is across the house and taking 5 minutes, is that this is above the master bathroom and this is above the sink, so this is going straight down. Now, we used this room and put the central in here because we used an electric hybrid heater. Now, electric hybrid heater takes the energy from the environment, which it happens to be this room, and puts it into the hot water heater, and it's still using heat pump technology. If you come inside here and you look at this energy guide for a heat pump, is that a typical water heater that is without the hybrid would be using $340, and that would be another GE. This is a GE hybrid, but if you used a GE just electric water heater, the same government agency that measures the efficiency, this uses $195 per year, same amount of water. Electric is using $340. Why? It has a heat pump on top that takes the air in through here. It actually is cooling the space. So when you're cooling the space, we're actually taking the heat that's trapped in environment. Matter of fact, this room is cooler than some of the other spaces because I'm taking the heat that we use from the shower and putting in hot water. So every time I take a shower, when it's hot and it's warm up here, is I'm actually cooling my space. So it's actually helps me, it actually ends up being a little cheaper to cool the space because I'm actually cooling the air up here. Another thing we did is that we put in radiant heating in the floor, but I'm using the hybrid heater to heat the floor. The mechanical parts of the hybrid heater are the pump. And so we're pumping water through PEX, which is just PEX. Okay, that's just a filter to make sure that no contaminants goes back into the system. last but not least, what we decided to do here is that we put in a Rinnai gas water heater that can heat from tap water temperature to 120, 7 gallons per minute. But the reason we did that is that when we use the hybrid heater in the wintertime, we might run out of hot water. This allows us to have unlimited hot water, which is the Rinnai is known for, but it's cheaper to heat water through an electric hybrid than it is for propane gas. But the advantage for propane gas is that you have a much higher capacity, so you can't run out of hot water. So if everybody comes to visit, then you can use the Rinnai and turn it on.
Now you've seen the technologies, and they include geothermal ground source heat pumps, hybrid electric hot water heaters. You have tankless gas backup heaters. You have radiant flooring. You have ERVs, which is energy recovery unit. You have electrostatic air purification systems. Those are the things that are the components that you would want in your house to make it cool. And I'm Tom Baker with Buildgreen Industries. Come visit our website and you'll find more information there and a little bit better explanations or a little bit more explanations of what we've discussed about in these videos. And that web address is buildgreenindustries.com.